Aliens killed this human's dog, not knowing he was a super soldier. Mark Turner lived a peaceful, quiet life on Earth. His days were spent in the small town of Redwood Hills, where everyone knew everyone. He had a simple routine: wake up early, take his dog Buddy for a long walk, and then go about his job as a mechanic. There was nothing extraordinary about Mark. To the outside world, he was just another middle-aged man, content with his life. But what no one knew, not even Mark, was that he was not just any man. Years ago, Mark had been part of a top-secret government program aimed at creating the perfect soldier. But the experiments that altered his body and mind were erased from his memory. Mark had no recollection of his past, and all he knew was that he was a regular guy with a deep love for his dog Buddy. Buddy was more than a pet to him. The dog had been with him through thick and thin, and the bond they shared was unbreakable. It was just another day in the town of Redwood Hills when everything changed. Mark was fixing a car in his garage, Buddy lying at his feet, when a loud, thunderous noise echoed across the sky. Mark looked up, confused, as the sky darkened with something he could not comprehend. It was a ship, massive and metallic, descending rapidly. A wave of panic spread through the town as the ship landed, its doors opening to reveal figures Mark had never seen before. They were tall, with strange, otherworldly armor and weapons that seemed like nothing from Earth. The aliens had arrived. At first, Mark and the other residents stood frozen, unsure of what to do. The aliens stepped off their ship and began moving toward the town, their strange eyes scanning everything they saw. Some of the townspeople tried to flee, but the aliens moved too quickly. Within moments, chaos erupted. People screamed, running for cover, but the aliens were faster and more powerful. Mark's first instinct was to protect Buddy. He grabbed the dog's collar and started running, but the aliens were already moving in. One of them noticed Mark and lunged at him, but he instinctively dodged, pushing Buddy out of harm's way. As he moved to escape, the aliens advanced further, their weapons firing blasts of energy that tore through the town. Mark and Buddy made it to the forest on the edge of town, but the aliens weren't far behind. Mark tried to shield Buddy with his body, but just as he thought they were safe, one of the aliens turned its attention on the dog. With a quick motion, the alien raised its weapon and fired. Mark heard Buddy's desperate yelp, and his heart sank as he turned to see his beloved companion fall. The blast had struck Buddy, killing him instantly. The world seemed to stop. Mark's body went cold as the grief hit him. He knelt beside Buddy's lifeless body, tears stinging his eyes. He had always promised that he would protect his dog, that no harm would ever come to him. But now Buddy was gone, and Mark's anger began to boil. What the aliens didn't know, however, was that Mark was no ordinary man. The government had made him a weapon, a super soldier, though he had no recollection of it. The experiments that had enhanced his physical strength, speed, and intelligence were locked away in his mind, hidden beneath layers of erased memories. But the loss of Buddy had triggered something deep inside him. His mind started to unlock the hidden abilities he had forgotten. His senses sharpened, and his body became more aware of the surroundings. Mark's first instinct was to avenge Buddy. He stood up, fists clenched, and looked toward the aliens who were still terrorizing the town. They had killed his dog, and now they would pay. He was no longer the mechanic from Redwood Hills. Mark was the super soldier, and he was ready to fight. Mark made his way back into town, using the shadows to avoid detection. His mind was racing, but it was clear that the aliens were not just here to attack a small town. They were invading Earth, and Mark would be the one to stop them. But first, he would make sure they felt his wrath for what they had done to Buddy. As Mark approached the town square, he saw the alien soldiers patrolling the streets, unaware of his presence. He quickly disabled the first one he encountered, using his enhanced strength to break its neck with one swift move. Mark moved silently, taking out alien after alien, his rage driving him forward. He didn't know how or why, but he knew that the alien invaders had made a grave mistake by killing Buddy, and he was going to make them regret it. By the time Mark reached the heart of the invasion, where the alien ship stood towering above the town, he had already taken down half a dozen of them. His body moved like a well-oiled machine, each move calculated, precise, and deadly. When he reached the ship, he spotted the leader of the alien forces, a towering figure clad in armor standing near the entrance. The alien leader turned, sensing Mark's presence. There was no fear in the alien's eyes, only curiosity as if it had never encountered a human capable of such destruction. "You are just another weakling," the alien leader said in a language Mark couldn't understand. But Mark didn't need to understand. He knew what it meant. The alien believed him to be no threat. Mark grinned through his anger, his fists clenching tighter. "You're about to learn what humans are capable of," he muttered under his breath. In that moment, everything Mark had once known was irrelevant. His past, his quiet life, and even his pain over Buddy's death were all gone. What remained was a soldier, a warrior, and a man with only one goal: to destroy the invaders who had dared to take his dog's life. Mark stood in the middle of the ruined town, his fists still clenched, his heart racing with a fury he had never known. The town was in chaos, destroyed by the alien invaders. Fires burned in the distance, and the cries of people echoed through the streets. But none of that mattered to Mark right now. All that mattered was Buddy, his loyal dog who had been taken from him. Mark didn't care about the destruction around him. The aliens had made a grave mistake, and they would pay for it. The pain in his chest was overwhelming, but his anger burned even stronger. He had been a quiet man, living a peaceful life, but that life was gone now. The aliens had shattered everything. They had killed Buddy, and that was something Mark could never forgive. The alien leader, who had stood so arrogantly on the ship's landing platform, had already underestimated Mark. The aliens' belief that humans were weak and easily defeated was a mistake. Mark was not just any human. He was a super soldier, built for war, even though he had never known it until now. The experiments that had enhanced his body and mind had been hidden from him, but they were there, ready to be unleashed. And now they were awakening. As Mark moved deeper into the heart of the alien invasion, his senses sharpened. Every sound was clearer, every movement more defined. The memories of his training flooded back to him, and his body moved like it was on autopilot, reacting with deadly precision. He didn't think, he just acted. His instincts were in full control, and that made him unstoppable. The alien forces were scattered throughout the town, patrolling, hunting down the last remaining humans. Mark was a shadow, moving silently through the streets. He picked off the invaders one by one, using his enhanced strength and speed to overpower them. The aliens never saw him coming. To them, he was just another human, weak, fragile, and easy to eliminate. But Mark was far from weak. Every alien he took down fueled his desire for revenge, and with every victory, he felt a little more in control. The first few aliens he encountered were nothing more than targets. He tore through them with ease, his fists smashing through their armor and their bodies crumpling to the ground. But as he advanced, the alien forces began to realize that something was wrong. They had no idea what they were facing. They had expected humans to run and hide, to cower in fear. But Mark wasn't like the others. He was a weapon, and he wasn't about to let these invaders destroy his world. Mark had always been a soldier, though he didn't remember it. The program that had transformed him into this unstoppable force had been secret, hidden away from the public and even from him. The government had erased his memories, wiped away the knowledge of what he was capable of, and left him to live a quiet life. But now, as the war raged around him, everything had come back. His training, his abilities, and his purpose. He wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for revenge. As he moved closer to the alien ship, Mark saw the leader again. The alien stood tall, its imposing figure casting a shadow over the ruins. The leader was flanked by several of its soldiers, and it appeared to be issuing orders to the rest of the forces. Mark could see the smugness in the alien's posture, the belief that victory was inevitable. But that would soon change. Mark's rage surged as he saw the alien who had ordered Buddy's death. He remembered the flash of the weapon, the way it had disintegrated his dog in an instant. He remembered Buddy's yelp, the way the dog had looked up at him with trusting eyes before the light took him away. That moment had been the turning point for Mark. That was when he had stopped being a man and started being something more, a soldier, a warrior, a protector. The alien leader looked down at Mark, its eyes narrowing as if it had just realized the danger it was in. But it didn't have time to react. In one fluid motion, Mark launched himself at the alien, his enhanced speed catching it off guard. He tackled the leader to the ground, his fists landing heavy blows against its armored body. The alien struggled, trying to push him off, but Mark was too strong. His enhanced muscles easily overpowered the alien, and in a few seconds the leader was pinned beneath him. The alien's eyes were wide with fear now, realizing that it had underestimated humanity. Mark didn't waste any time. With a swift motion, he ripped the alien's helmet off, exposing its ugly reptilian face. The leader's mouth opened, but it could only gasp for breath as Mark's powerful hands closed around its throat. "You took everything from me," Mark growled, his voice low and filled with rage. "Now you'll pay for it." Before the alien could react, Mark squeezed harder, feeling the life drain from its body. The alien's struggles weakened, and in moments it was lifeless. Mark released its body, standing tall over the fallen leader. He felt no satisfaction in the kill, only a deep sense of justice. He had avenged Buddy, but there was still much to do. The rest of the alien forces had to be dealt with. Mark stood up, scanning the area. The battle was far from over. The aliens had scattered throughout the town, and many were still alive. Mark's enhanced senses told him that there were more enemies nearby. But he didn't hesitate. He moved forward, ready to finish what he had started. As he made his way through the wreckage of the town, Mark began to realize something important. He wasn't just fighting for revenge anymore. He was fighting for the future of Earth, for the people who had been left behind. His instincts told him that the aliens were only the beginning. If he didn't stop them now, Earth would fall. The invasion was just a part of a much larger plan, and the alien forces were just the first wave. Mark's anger still burned, but now it was mixed with a sense of purpose. He wasn't going to let these invaders destroy his world. He was going to protect Earth, and he would stop them at any cost. The town had been destroyed, but the war had just begun. Mark wasn't finished yet. He would hunt down every alien soldier and take them out one by one. He would stop the invasion and make sure that Buddy's death would not be in vain. As Mark disappeared into the shadows, his mind focused on the mission ahead. He knew one thing for sure. The aliens had underestimated humanity. And that was a mistake they would never make again. Mark stood alone in the middle of the ruined town, his chest still heaving with anger from his previous battle. The alien leader lay dead, and the threat of the invasion felt closer than ever. But Mark knew that this was only the beginning. Killing the leader was just a small victory in the grand scheme of things. There were still more aliens, more enemies, and more destruction to come. He had avenged Buddy's death, but he could not stop there. The rest of the alien forces had to be stopped before they could carry out their full plan. The streets of Redwood Hills were eerily quiet now, a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded just hours earlier. The once lively town was nothing more than a war zone. Buildings were scorched, windows shattered, and the remains of fallen alien soldiers littered the streets. The alien forces had invaded with brutal efficiency, but they had underestimated humanity's strength. Mark had already proven that he was not an ordinary human, and now he was determined to prove that the rest of the world would fight back just as fiercely. Mark's mind raced as he surveyed the destruction around him. The alien forces weren't just attacking random towns. This was part of a larger plan. His instincts told him that the aliens had something far more dangerous in mind, something beyond just taking over Earth. But Mark didn't have time to figure it out just yet. The immediate threat was still alive, and he needed to deal with it. His enhanced senses picked up movement in the distance, more alien soldiers patrolling the streets. Mark had already taken down several, but there were still many more to go. He needed to act quickly before they regrouped and launched a full counterattack. With one last glance at the destruction around him, he set off toward the sound of the alien patrols. His enhanced speed allowed him to move silently, blending into the shadows as he stalked his prey. As Mark approached the first group of alien soldiers, he could hear their mechanical voices speaking in a language he didn't understand. They were too focused on their patrol to notice him. Mark smiled to himself. He wasn't going to give them the chance to react. His training, the memories of his enhanced abilities, flowed back into his mind. He was a soldier. This was what he was made for. Without making a sound, Mark closed the distance between him and the first alien soldier. He moved like a shadow, his body a blur as he reached out and grabbed the alien by the neck. With a swift twist, he snapped its neck and dropped the body to the ground without a second thought. The others didn't even know what hit them. Mark was already on the next one, using his strength to throw the alien into a nearby wall with bone-crushing force. The remaining soldiers turned to face him, their weapons raised, but it was too late. Mark was already in motion, dodging their blasts with ease. He moved with unnatural speed, faster than any human could move, using the aliens' own weapons against them. The first blast that came his way was deflected, and with a quick counterattack, he took out another soldier. The aliens were no match for him. Mark didn't pause to think. He fought with the same intensity that had fueled him when he lost Buddy. He wasn't just angry anymore, he was a force of nature. Every alien he took down only made him feel more alive, but it wasn't about the kills, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about something bigger. He was protecting the planet, protecting the people, and fighting for the future of humanity. As he dispatched the final alien in the group, Mark stood in the middle of the street, panting slightly but feeling more powerful than ever. He knew that the alien forces would keep coming, but he wasn't afraid. They had attacked Earth, and now they would pay for it. But then, Mark's attention was drawn to a loud noise coming from behind him. He turned, only to see the massive alien mothership hovering above the ruins of the town. It was a reminder of the scale of the invasion. Mark knew that the battle was far from over. The ship's presence meant that the full force of the alien army was just waiting to strike. The ground began to shake as more alien soldiers and ships landed, and Mark realized that he was facing something far bigger than just a handful of invaders. He needed to figure out the aliens' plan. The only way to stop them was to take the fight to their mothership, to infiltrate their command center and destroy it from within. Mark's mind worked quickly. He had already taken out a small portion of their forces, but the mothership was a whole different beast. The alien commander had to be there, the one pulling the strings. Mark knew that if he could get to the heart of the invasion, he could stop it once and for all. Without a second thought, Mark began to make his way toward the mothership. The streets were littered with debris and alien bodies, but he moved with purpose, determined to reach his goal. His instincts told him that this was the only way. If he could take down the mothership, the aliens would be forced to retreat. It was a risky move, but it was the only move he had left. As he got closer to the ship, Mark noticed the increased presence of alien soldiers. They had already begun to form a perimeter around the mothership, trying to keep any humans from approaching. But Mark wasn't afraid. He was a super soldier, and this was his fight. He could feel his enhanced abilities kick in again, the training and strength surging through his body as he moved toward the enemy. The alien soldiers seemed to notice him at the last second, but it was too late. Mark had already closed the distance between them, and within moments, he was in the middle of their ranks, taking down alien after alien with brutal efficiency. He fought with purpose, every strike calculated, every move designed to eliminate the threat. His enhanced strength made him a deadly weapon, and he used it to take down the aliens with ease. By the time he reached the entrance of the mothership, Mark was covered in the remains of the alien soldiers. He stood there for a moment, catching his breath and preparing himself for what lay ahead. The entrance to the mothership was heavily guarded, but Mark knew that if he was going to stop the invasion, he had to get inside. He had to face the alien commander, the one who was responsible for everything that had happened. Mark wasn't sure what awaited him inside the mothership, but he didn't care. He had one goal, one mission: to end the alien invasion and save Earth. And he would do whatever it took to make that happen. With that thought in mind, Mark stepped forward, ready to face whatever dangers lay within the alien mothership. The battle was far from over, but Mark was ready. He was a super soldier, and this was his war to win. Mark moved steadily toward the entrance of the alien mothership, his steps measured and his body tensed with anticipation. The battle outside had left him exhausted, but his resolve had only grown stronger. Every alien soldier he had taken down, every part of the town he had defended, had only brought him closer to the goal he had set, ending the invasion and avenging Buddy's death. He had no more time to waste. The longer he waited, the stronger the alien forces would grow. The mothership loomed in front of him, an immense structure of sleek, metallic surfaces covered in alien symbols that Mark didn't recognize. The air around him seemed to hum with the presence of the ship, as if it were alive and aware of his approach. Alien soldiers guarded the entrance, but they had no idea what was coming. Mark's body, honed by years of government experimentation, moved like a well-oiled machine. He was more than a man now, he was a weapon. The first alien he encountered barely had time to react. Mark was on it in an instant, his powerful hands closing around its throat, squeezing until the alien's life drained away. He dropped the lifeless body to the ground without hesitation, moving on to the next one. His enhanced senses had already picked up the patterns of movement, the shifts in the air as the soldiers prepared for battle. They were coordinated, but no match for his speed and strength. Each soldier fell as Mark advanced deeper into the ship. His heart pounded with purpose, his mind focused only on one thing, the alien commander. That was the real threat. Mark knew that the invasion would not end until the leader was taken down. The commander was the one who had set this invasion into motion, who had ordered the destruction of Mark's town and killed Buddy. He would be the one Mark would face in the end. But as Mark cut down alien after alien, he began to realize something. The mothership wasn't just a ship, it was a fortress. The deeper he went, the more complex the ship seemed. The walls twisted in strange patterns, and the corridors were filled with alien technology that Mark couldn't even begin to understand. Yet he pushed forward, his mind unwavering. The ship's interior was vast, and Mark had to move carefully, avoiding traps and alien patrols. His heightened senses allowed him to detect even the faintest sound of movement, giving him the advantage. But the deeper he ventured, the more he realized that the aliens weren't just fighting to invade. They were planning something bigger. The strange technology inside the ship hinted at a weapon unlike any Mark had ever seen. If the aliens succeeded in activating it, Earth would be destroyed. Mark's thoughts raced as he made his way to the central command room. He had to get to the heart of the ship, where the alien commander would be waiting. As he passed through a long corridor, a sudden sound caught his attention. He froze, listening closely. It was the unmistakable sound of footsteps, more aliens heading in his direction. Mark didn't hesitate. He crouched low, blending into the shadows. The aliens walked past him, unaware of his presence. He waited until they were a few steps ahead, then moved swiftly. His body reacted without thinking, his legs carrying him forward in a burst of speed. He reached the first alien and slammed it into the wall with enough force to crush its bones. The other soldiers turned in alarm, but Mark was already upon them. He fought with calculated precision, using their own weapons against them, taking down each one before they had a chance to react. Once the last soldier fell, Mark moved forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the presence of the commander ahead, the air growing colder, the atmosphere heavier. The closer he got, the more dangerous it became. He could sense the alien leader's power, the dark energy that radiated from it. The commander was waiting for him. Mark didn't waste any time. He entered the command room with his gun raised, his eyes scanning for the leader. The room was massive, with alien technology lining the walls, pulsating with unnatural energy. At the far end, sitting in a throne-like chair, was the alien commander. Its cold, reptilian eyes met Mark's, and for a moment neither moved. "So, you've made it this far," the commander said in a voice that echoed in Mark's mind. The language was strange, but Mark understood it clearly. "I must admit, I didn't expect a human to make it this far." Mark didn't respond. He didn't have time for words. This was a battle of survival, a battle to save Earth. Without warning, he charged toward the commander. The alien leader rose from its chair, raising its hand, and suddenly a powerful force slammed into Mark's chest, sending him crashing backward into the wall. The shock of the impact left him dazed for a moment, but he quickly recovered, pushing himself to his feet. The commander stepped forward, its long, clawed fingers reaching toward Mark. "You are strong, but you are only human," it sneered. "You cannot defeat me." Mark felt a surge of anger, remembering Buddy, remembering the destruction the aliens had caused. He wouldn't let this alien continue its plans. Not today, not ever. He charged again, this time using his enhanced speed to dodge the commander's strikes. He was faster, stronger, and more determined than ever before. The fight was intense. The alien commander was powerful, but Mark's abilities were greater. He was relentless, attacking with everything he had. The commander's defenses weakened with each strike, its confidence starting to falter. Mark could feel it. The commander wasn't invincible. It was just another being, just another enemy to defeat. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Mark saw his opening. With a burst of energy, he lunged at the commander, delivering a crushing blow to its chest. The alien staggered back, its eyes wide with shock. Mark didn't give it a chance to recover. He grabbed the commander by the throat and lifted it off the ground, holding it there as he stared into its eyes. "You took everything from me," Mark said, his voice cold. "Now you'll pay." With one final motion, Mark squeezed the life out of the commander. The alien's struggles stopped, and it fell limp in his grasp. Mark dropped the body to the floor, standing over it for a moment. He had won. The alien invasion was over. But even in victory, Mark knew that there was more to do. The mothership had to be destroyed, and the alien forces had to be wiped out. This was just the beginning. Mark had saved Earth, but there were still many battles to fight. As the leader's body lay motionless on the ground, Mark turned toward the control center. It was time to finish what he had started. Mark stood in the heart of the alien mothership, his breathing slow and steady, his body bruised and battered from the intense battle. The alien commander was dead, its cold, lifeless body lying in a heap at his feet. The ship was eerily silent now, the once buzzing corridors filled with alien soldiers, now nothing more than the quiet hum of machinery. The threat had been eliminated, but Mark knew this was not the end. There was still work to be done. The mothership had to be destroyed, and he had to make sure the alien forces didn't have another chance to strike. The walls of the mothership pulsed with a strange, dark energy. It was as if the ship itself were alive, aware of the destruction happening within it. Mark could feel the alien technology surrounding him, the vast control center just ahead. The alien leader may have fallen, but the mothership still had one final weapon, one final chance to end the fight and take out humanity once and for all. If he didn't destroy it now, there was no telling what other horrors it could unleash. Mark moved forward, each step deliberate. His senses, heightened by the genetic enhancements he had never fully understood, told him everything he needed to know. He could hear the faint sounds of alien machinery working, feel the vibrations of the ship as it prepared for its next move. His mind was sharp, focused. His purpose was clear. He had to reach the core of the mothership, where the main control system lay hidden, and shut it down. If he did that, he could destroy the ship and end the alien threat once and for all. It wasn't going to be easy. The ship was massive, and the core would be heavily guarded. But Mark wasn't afraid. He had faced enemies far greater than this. As he moved deeper into the ship, the corridors grew narrower, the air heavier with the scent of alien technology and the strange, metallic odor of the mothership. Mark's eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, expecting an ambush at any moment. He knew the alien forces wouldn't give up easily. Even without their commander, they would fight to protect their ship. But Mark was ready. He was a soldier, and this was his fight. He reached a large, circular chamber, the heart of the mothership. In the center stood a massive, pulsating core, surrounded by rows of alien soldiers, each one armed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. They turned as Mark entered, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They raised their weapons, ready to strike. But Mark wasn't concerned. He moved quickly, faster than any human should be able to, dodging the blasts that came his way and using his strength to overpower the soldiers one by one. He fought with precision, his enhanced body moving like it was built for this very moment. Each strike was calculated, each movement executed with deadly intent. The aliens didn't stand a chance. Within moments, the chamber was filled with the bodies of fallen soldiers, their weapons lying discarded on the floor. Mark paused, catching his breath, his body aching but his resolve unwavering. He stepped forward toward the core. The energy emanating from it was intense, almost suffocating. Mark could feel the power radiating from the alien technology, the force that had been used to fuel the invasion. But he wasn't afraid. He knew what needed to be done. Mark approached the control panel, his hands moving over the strange symbols, deciphering them with ease. His enhanced intelligence, a gift from the government experiments, made him capable of understanding alien technology. It took only a few moments for him to find the right sequence, the right code to disable the ship's core. As he typed in the final command, the entire mothership shuddered. The walls groaned and the lights flickered. Mark knew the ship was starting to fail. He had done it. He had destroyed the mothership, but there was no time to celebrate. The ship was already beginning to break apart. Mark turned, sprinting out of the chamber, his mind focused on one thing: escape. The mothership was on the verge of self-destructing, and he needed to get out before it was too late. The corridors were filled with chaos now. Alien soldiers scrambled, trying to understand what was happening, trying to stop the inevitable. But it was too late. Mark had already won. He ran through the ship, the sounds of explosions echoing behind him as the mothership began to collapse. The walls shook and debris fell from the ceiling, but Mark didn't stop. He had been through worse, and nothing was going to stop him now. He pushed forward, faster and faster, until he finally reached the ship's exit. Outside, the atmosphere was dark, the sky filled with the remnants of the alien invasion. The mothership was starting to burn up in the atmosphere, its massive form falling apart as it plummeted toward the ground. Mark stood on the edge, watching as the ship disintegrated, the explosion lighting up the sky. The war was over. The aliens had been defeated. Mark stood there for a moment, taking it all in. He had done what he set out to do. The alien threat was gone, and Earth was safe once again, but it had come at a cost. The town of Redwood Hills was destroyed, and many people had lost their lives. And Buddy, his loyal dog, was gone. The grief still lingered in his chest, but Mark knew that Buddy's sacrifice had not been in vain. He had avenged his dog. He had saved humanity. As the fireball from the mothership's destruction lit up the sky, Mark felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had lost so much, but he had also gained something. He had rediscovered his true self, his purpose. He was a soldier, and the world needed him. He turned and walked away from the wreckage, heading toward the remains of the town. There was still work to be done. The world needed to rebuild, and Mark would help. He had proven that humanity was capable of great things, and he would continue to fight for it, no matter what came next. The war was over, but Mark's journey was just beginning. He was no longer the quiet man from Redwood Hills. He was a hero, a warrior, and a protector of Earth. And as long as there was a need, he would be ready to defend humanity from any threat, no matter how big or how small.